my friends, and welcome back to Kev's Hobby Showcase. I'm, of course, Kevin. You may have also seen me on Tabletop Jones Productions, where John and I are the two idiots playing board games. And today, well, it's the first weekend of the month, and it is story time. So I will be continuing with the book that I've written, The New Age of Heroes. It's actually now into part 3, because we finished up part 2 last month with the Citizens story arc. Now we are starting the one with Arsenal and Mallet, and it's gonna be a nice one. It's kind of like inspired by the Punisher from Marvel Comics, but it's gonna be it's gonna be my own unique twist on everything, and hopefully one that you will enjoy. All right. So anyway, let's get. All right. Introduction for Arsenal and Mallet. Society collapsed in the 21st century after decades of pressure from politicians, the media, and those with influence. The people of the world finally reached their breaking point. Families turned against each other. Religions were attacked. It became every person for themselves. The chaos lasted for decades. Then, finally, a small group of people started to bring back the old ways. The family unit became sacred again. Religions once again became beacons of morality. People started treating each other with respect. The majority of the world's population returned to the old ways, but not all. Joseph Hunter retired from the police force when the corruption got too much for him. He would constantly see those arrested be set free, especially those he caught in the act. The world was returning to the old ways, but slow enough for corruption to continue unabated. Joseph decided that not only did he have enough, but he was going to do something about it. He had heard of the one called Citizen, but he was too soft on criminals, specifically the violent ones. So Joseph had an idea. Citizen could handle the redeemable ones, but he would handle the rest. Joseph still had contacts within the police force who would be willing to help him, so he contacted his former partner, Carl Hammer. They were both celebrated as the toughest police officers on the force. So Joseph asked Carl to help arm him to do the job that the police cannot do. Carl not only agreed, but insisted they be partners again. When they were both on the force, they were called the Hammer and the Hunter. Now they call themselves Arsenal and Mallet. They operate in the shadows, but their presence, their very existence, is about to be known by both the police and the criminal element of the city. Will the police embrace them in their efforts to clean up the city? Will the corrupt politicians, administrators, and police officers change their ways before Arsenal and Mallet deal with them? Will the criminals eliminate Arsenal and Mallet before they themselves are eliminated? Only time will answer these questions. Well, time and the determination of Arsenal and Mallet to eliminate the corrupt and the criminals of the city. The only other question to be answered is, will they be enough? Chapter 17. Retirement. Officer Joseph Hunter sat in his patrol car for what seemed like an eternity. He had been on a stakeout outside a well-known drug den. It was in a very run-down neighborhood in one of the poorest sections of New York City. He was looking for one individual in particular. A teen using the nickname Scuzz was dealing all kinds of deadly narcotics to school children. Age didn't matter to Scuzz, as soon as he sold even to elementary school kids. Officer Hunter was over 6 foot tall and very fit for a man in his mid-50s. He had dark hair styled in a buzz cut and light skin. His partner, Carl Hammer, was just slightly shorter than Joseph. He was also very fit in his mid-40s with dark skin and dark hair and a short afro. So Officer Hunter waited, but he didn't have to wait long. Scuzz exited the dilapidated building and started to make his way down the street. Scuzz was in his late teens, blue hair styled in a mohawk and ghostly light skin on his extremely skinny frame. So Hunter got on the radio with his partner, Officer Carl Hammer. "Carl, you see him?" "Yeah, I got him." "Go, let's get him." Both officers ran out from their hiding spots to confront Scuzz. Scuzz didn't see them at first. He was overly confident since no charges ever stuck enough to put him in jail. There was always some technicality to release him, and he was always back on the streets selling his drugs. But now he saw them and ran down the nearest alleyway. As both officers were yelling, "Stop, police!" Scuzz zigzagged through the endless debris littering the alley until they finally caught up to him. Officer Hammer tackled him while Hunter got his cuffs out while reading Scuzz's rights. After his rights were properly read, the officers brought him out of the alleyway. "Fascists!" some of the residents yelled as the officers brought Scuzz to the patrol car. "Why don't you pigs stick to your own hood?" yelled a few others. It had become increasingly harder to enforce the law in this country. Even though things were changing, a lot of people still clung to victimhood to justify their bad behavior. Scuzz turned to the crowd that was gathering near the patrol car. "Don't worry, y'all. I'll be out in a few hours. Y'all get your fix before tonight." The sad part was that Officer Hunter knew there was a lot of validity to what he said. But this time they had evidence, lots of it. They had pictures, video recordings, even an eyewitness to testify against him. The drive back to the station was quiet, and that unnerved the officers. They were used to a lot of chatter from the back seat, whether it be threats, pleas, or just random shouts of aggression. But today's Scuzz was quiet, and that worried Officer Hunter and Hammer. Everything after they got to the station was a blur. Scuzz was processed and placed in a holding cell without any incident. The whole time he had a big smile on his face. This also worried the officers. Then it happened. A lawyer in a very expensive-looking suit showed up demanding to see Scuzz. This had been an all-too-familiar occurrence lately. Every time they arrested someone, a lawyer immediately shows up to set the criminal free. "I have an order from Judge Whitney to release my client. He's free to go right now." "Now hold on," Officer Hunter said. "We have evidence of his crimes. We have a witness willing to testify. He's not going anywhere." "In the order you will see the evidence was deemed inadmissible. You have nothing to keep him here. As for the witness, you'll find out she left town." And just as swiftly as the lawyer came in, he left with Scuzz following close behind him. "Carl, get her on the phone right now. There's no way our witness skipped town." "No need, Joe. Look at the television." Officer Joe Hunter looked and his heart sank. There was his witness being carried out of her home in a body bag. "God damn it, I've had it." He went to his captain's office and stormed in. The captain was older than Officer Hunter and looked very tired. Stress had taken its toll on him, and it showed. "Joe, I know how you feel." "Good, then this shouldn't shock you. I quit." Joseph Hunter threw his badge at the captain. He returned to his desk and pulled out papers that he had been thinking about for months, his retirement papers. He signed them and started to clear out his desk. "Joe, are you sure about this?" I've never been sure in my life. "Come to my place tonight, Carl. I want to talk to you about something." "Okay, sure," Carl said uneasily as he watched his partner and best friend leave the station for the last time. Hours later, Carl was at Joe's door, not sure if he wanted to hear what Joe wanted to talk about. The growing corruption was becoming a problem, and now it had driven a very good cop out of the service. Taking a deep breath, he rang the bell. "Carl, I'm so glad you came. Come in. Let's get to the basement, and I'll show you what I want to talk about." Carl followed Joe, and once in the basement, his eyes widened with shock and awe. What he was looking at was an arsenal, a huge one. Handguns, rifles, assault weapons, and all the attachments one could ask for. He also saw body armor, riot gear, helmets, and all sorts of protective gear. Off at the other end of the basement, he saw computers, surveillance equipment, and all sorts of tech used to target and eliminate anything and anyone. "Joe, what is all this?" "Carl, I'm tired of seeing our work get reduced to catch and release. I'm tired of people siding with criminals and letting good people and us cops suffer. Hell, we can't even find women to start families with because of the backlash against police families. So I started to prepare." "For what?" "For war. A real war against crime and not this fake crap the politicians like to promise. A war against real criminals where they face real consequences. I'm not looking to put them in jail. Not after today with that sweet girl murdered because she dared to testify to put a career scumbag in jail. No, I'm looking to put them in the ground. We gather the evidence, identify the deadly ones, and take them out, one by one. You in?" It didn't take Carl long to decide. "Hell yeah, I'm in." Chapter 18. The Beginning. Joseph Hunter sat in his modified armor sedan watching the same alley he watched on his last day on the force. The same run-down neighborhood, the same dilapidated building. Carl Hammer was nearby in a modified armored jeep. Both were waiting for their target to arrive. While they waited, they both began to familiarize themselves with the vehicles they both were in. Hunter had been working on these two vehicles for months, tweaking the capabilities until he reached the desired result. After he had been upgraded with armor on every surface. Each had been upgraded with armor on every surface. Hunter wanted to withstand any ballistic ammunition that could be used against him. The engines were enhanced to achieve peak performance. Also, weapons were installed in case needed in a chase with a target. Both Hunter and Hammer were armed to the teeth. Both had a handgun on each hip, body armor covering their entire bodies, protective headgear, and a shotgun rifle. Today, a violent criminal was going to be the victim, not an innocent civilian. They were both prepared to wait all night long to acquire their target. This particular individual was a thorn in their side for years while on the force, so an example was going to be set. After hours of waiting, they finally saw their target, Scuzz. Scuzz was doing what he always does, selling drugs. This time he was harassing grade school kids to buy his poison. One of them didn't want to, the other one did, so Scuzz was aggressively trying to make his sale while Hunter and Hammer exited their vehicles and rushed to approach. "Oh, look at this. Halloween came early, dipshits." Hammer walked up to Scuzz and punched him full force in his jaw. Scuzz fell immediately, blood flowing from his mouth. "What the hell, man?" he yelled while spitting blood. "What's your problem?" "Your corrupt lawyer and judge can't help you today, scumbag." "Wait, is that you, Officer Hunter? You just made a big mistake." "Yeah, think so? Touch me again and I'll make sure you're kicked off the force, you pig." Hunter unholstered one of his handguns. "I'm not on the force anymore. You can't do shit to me." Scuzz's eyes went wide with fear. He scrambled to his feet and began to run. He didn't get far. Hunter shot him through the left knee, making him fall flat on his face. Hunter turned to the two kids Scuzz was trying to sell drugs to. "Kids, scram!" They both ran as fast as they could, as far away as they could. Then Hunter turned towards Scuzz. Using his foot, he flipped him onto his back so he could look Scuzz in the face. Hunter pointed his shotgun at Scuzz's face. "Hold on, man. You can't do this. You're a cop. I have rights." Hunter looked at Scuzz in the eyes. "I have seen firsthand what letting you go repeatedly results in. Kids overdosing on the shit you sell them. Anyone willing to stand up to you winding up in a brutally murdered. Good, honest people feeling there is no hope for them, that no one cares, that they are abandoned. Not anymore. Hold on, I can make it worth." Whatever Scuzz was going to say was lost in a shotgun blast. Hunter pulled the trigger and blew Scuzz's head into a puddle of blood. The noise was sure to attract the crowd, so Hunter and Hammer acted fast. They prepared a sign to pin to the body. Justice was finally delivered by Arsenal and Mallet, it said. They both then went back to their vehicles and left to return to base. Mission accomplished, and now to choose the next target from a very long list. Chapter 19. Bigger Targets. It had been 2 months since their confrontation with Scuzz. Arsenal and Mallet had been building a reputation on the streets. Dealers were scared for probably the first time in a very long time, since what is being referred to as the fall. So Arsenal and Mallet started working their way up the chain of command in the criminal world. After a few dealers were eliminated, the suppliers were next. One night they blew up a drug lab and incinerated their entire supply, eliminating everyone who worked there. It wasn't long after that for the one in charge to be eliminated next. They got him in an underage brothel, then freed all the sex slaves there. Rehab centers were busier than they had ever been. As the supply of drugs dwindled and the dealers were being taken out one by one, many of their customers were seeking to get off the drugs instead of finding their fix elsewhere. But the problem wasn't just going away. It still lingered. Joseph and Carl did a lot of research and even more digging to see why, and then they found it. One of their old informants gave them information that proved very valuable. They had saved their informant's daughter from the underage brothel, so the informant was more than happy to tell him what he knew. The mayor and the police commissioner were working with one of the mob bosses. It wasn't Don Marco Suarez, who was considered the biggest boss in the city. It was one of the smaller bosses, Richard Morris. His operation was small, but his major source of income was from drug sales. They both found out through their ever-growing information network that Morris was meeting the mayor and the police commissioner in the industrial section of the city, where there were no surveillance cameras and no witnesses. Arsenal and Mallet would also be there. Both of them packed up their gear, both lethal and non-lethal. Since the mayor and commissioner would both have security with them, it was decided to not kill them, at least until they knew if their security was complicit in the mayor and commissioner's crimes. After a lengthy debate, it was also decided that the mayor and commissioner would be given a warning, but it was unanimous that Richard Morris would die. The meeting place was indeed remote, nothing but factories, some abandoned and empty lots. Arsenal and Mallet each picked a good vantage point to observe the meeting and record it. They had been obtaining very sophisticated video and audio equipment for just such an occasion as this. All three had arrived and the meeting began. Mayor Bill Zero and Police Commissioner Greg Aaron. What the hell is going on? Some asshole is destroying what took over a decade to build. Mayor Zero was light-skinned, dark hair, and in his 50s. He was overweight and not very fit. His facial expressions usually went from looking lost to having a smug smile. Police Commissioner Greg Aaron was dark-skinned, dark hair, and also in his 50s. He was very fit and always had a look of smug confidence about him. Both men were not happy to be here. We don't know who it is. At the mayoral office, we just thought it was a rival boss. I was going to suggest you clean up your own house. None of our informants are talking. No one seems to know who's doing this, said the commissioner. Well, that's just great. We all had a deal. The mayor gets to blame anyone else but us for the drugs in the city. The police look the other way while my dealers do their job, and you both get a cut of the action. Now my dealers are getting slaughtered, and my supply chain is getting burned to the ground. Remember, I know where your families are, and I can get to them any time I can. Now hold on a second. Shut up, Mr. Mayor. With one word from me, your son disappears forever. Now listen, you little. Keep your mouth shut, Commissioner, unless you want to see your preteen daughter drugged up and used as a sex toy. Both men grew silent. There was nothing they could do. Morris clearly had them both, and they both knew it. Arsenal, you hear enough? Yeah, Mallet. One shot for each of us. Mayor Bill Zero and Police Commissioner Greg Aaron both heard what sounded like a muffled gunshot. Two of them, in fact. To their surprise, Morris convulsed twice and dropped to the ground with 2 bullet holes, one in the head and one in the heart. Upon seeing this, both men looked to run, and froze when they saw 2 men heavily armed and armored approach. Don't move, both of you. Your security details have been tased. They will recover in a few minutes. We have this meeting recorded, so don't try your usual political bullshit. I am Arsenal, and this is my partner, Mallet. We have been doing the job both of you have refused to do. If you keep this up, both of you are next, and the recording is released on the internet. If you both do your fucking jobs, the recording never sees the light of day and you live. Your choice. Arsenal and Mallet retreated to the darkness and returned to their base. They were both mulling over how the evening went. I think they'll listen, Joseph? Asked Carl. We'll see, answered Joseph. Chapter 20. Surrounded. Mayor Zero and Police Commissioner Aaron met at the mayor's office days after the incident at the industrial district. They had both been stewing about what had happened at their meeting with the mob boss Morris. At first they were both very afraid, but their fear turned into fury as they both realized the money that would be lost if they gave up their activities they had with Boss Morris. Okay, this office is secure. I personally set this room up myself. There are no listening devices. You sure? Absolutely sure. Okay, we need to find these assholes. I have a task force that can track them down. Can they be trusted? They started to lose a lot without our enterprise. They were all involved. So, crooked cops. Crooked is such a nasty term. Let's just say enlightened. Enlightened, huh? Yeah, enlightened to how much they can make if things like due process and uphold the law were ignored. Mayor Zero didn't like where this was going, but he didn't see any other option. Coming clean would be too messy in the public eye, and might even result in him being arrested and sent to prison. He knows a mayor in prison wouldn't survive long. Okay, do it, but for God's sakes, keep it quiet. The press is starting to grow a conscience lately. They aren't sweeping things under the rug like they used to. Really? Then maybe they should be next. Mayor Zero was very much taken back by that statement. He had been questioning what they were both doing in recent months. He had also been hiding it from Commissioner Aaron for fear of retaliation. But now sitting in his office listening to Aaron's jovial attitude at the thought of killing reporters for doing their job and not covering for their activities sent a shiver down his spine. Just concentrate on these two. What did they call themselves? Arsenal and Mallet? I've been hearing rumors about them in recent months. I'm sure it's all bullshit, just exaggerated stories to scare the boogeyman. Just realize this will take time. A few weeks at least. They have to track them down, and unfortunately, we will lose some of our mob assets in the process. Understood. Just get it done. Later that day, Commissioner Aaron met with his special task force. He had them all assembled with printouts of the only surveillance pictures of Arsenal and Mallet. They were all blurry and hard to make out, but it was all they had available. Okay, gentlemen, this is going to be our priority until it's done. We are going after Arsenal and Mallet. We know they're ex-cops, but not who. If we knew that, we'd hit them in their homes right now. We're going to have to monitor the drug dealers and strike when they do. It may take a while, but we will find these two, and when we do, follow them to their hideout, and then we'll all converge and eliminate. Aaron's men started cheering and applauding their new assignment. They all grabbed their gear and went to work. True to the assessment, it took several weeks to find Arsenal and Mallet. In that time, many drug dealers were killed and customers lost to the fear of seeing the dealers meet their end. But the task force was persistent. On a routine night when Arsenal and Mallet eliminated a drug dealer selling to grade school children, two of the task force members saw them. They were too late to save the dealer, but they were able to follow Arsenal and Mallet to their lair. They may have been crooked cops, but they knew their skills. They followed them just far enough not to be noticed, blended into the local traffic. It didn't take long for the rest of the task force to arrive. Inside, both Arsenal and Mallet were putting away their gear when an alert on their computers started chiming. "We've got company," said Mallet, looking at the computers. "What's it look like?" "Looks like the task force found us." "Shit, you sure it's them?" "Yeah, I recognize one of them. Cops, crooked to the core." "We have the second site ready?" "Yeah, I finished it last week." "So what do we do here?" "I have charges set up all over the place. We blow it up." "What about the neighbors?" "I thought of that. Down here, everything will be incinerated, nothing left to confiscate. But up above, it'll mostly implode, collapsing the house down into the basement. The destruction will mostly be contained." "How do we get out?" Mallet showed the hatch on the floor. "That leads right to the sewer system. I actually have it mapped out. We can go straight to the new site through the sewers." Arsenal smirked. "I knew you'd be the right partner in this. Let's go." Mallet set the charges on a timer. 5 minutes. Long enough for most of the task force to enter the house. Arsenal opened the hatch and started to climb down. Before they both descended, they grabbed as many weapons as they could carry. "It's a damn shame to destroy this much equipment," said Arsenal. "Not to worry. I moved most of our stuff to the new site already." With that last statement from Mallet, they closed the lock and locked the hatch. Meanwhile, the task force had entered the house. About a dozen men were inside, while the rest waited outside. From the outside, first an explosion could be heard in the basement, along with a few screams. Then, to their horror, they saw several more explosions, and the house collapsed in on itself. None of the neighbors were affected by the blast. The plan worked perfectly. Later, in the mayor's office, Mayor Zero and the police commissioner had another meeting. The mayor looked very stressed, and the commissioner a bit humbled. "So they blew up their own base. You men followed them to a house, and they blew it up. 12 men lost, and Arsenal and Mallet presumed escape. Does that about sum it all up?" Yeah. We still need to sift through the rubble, but that's what happened." "So the men who know all about what we're doing with the mob and threatened our lives if we don't stop are not only alive, but most likely know we tried to take them out. Listen, don't panic. We can still solve this problem. I don't want to hear anymore. Get out. I have some decisions to make." The commissioner left, visibly pissed, and ready to direct the task force to ramp up their efforts to take out Arsenal and Mallet. The mayor slumped into his office chair and wondered how things came to be this messed up. It was so much easier in the beginning. No one cared about what they were doing. The news reporters were so easy to intimidate and manipulate. All anyone had to do was claim or make an accusation of discrimination, and everybody backed off. It didn't matter if it was true or not. All you had to do was make the lie more believable than the truth, then make sure your voice was the only one heard. Good cops were powerless. The corruption was the only thing that mattered, and too many were easy to manipulate to the desired narrative. He lived like a king, he thought, and now he's about to fall like one. Okay, so that's the first part of the Arsenal and Mallet story arc. And as you can see, like I said, it's going to be good. A bit more violent than the other parts, but that's the nature of this character. And I like to say that I think that I can bring it out. I do hope that everybody enjoyed this. The next part will be next month. As far as the book coming out, I am still waiting for the copyright to be finished so that I can publish. I will be self-publishing through Amazon. It'll be available on the Kindle, and then eventually on paperback, and I might even do hardcover. I'm not entirely certain yet. I'm going to provide in the description of this video the link to my author page, well, kind of sort of my author page, where you can see all of my books available on Amazon. I do have other things that I've written in the past, although I will say that this one, The New Age of Heroes, something I'm quite proud of, and I do believe it's the best thing I've written to date. So, excuse me, let me try that again. And I am also working on the next volume, which is going to have more parts, a couple more story arcs, and a couple more characters, here and there. Just getting things, getting things ready. I mean, it's all first draft so far, so we'll see how it all works out. Maybe I'll even have a little sample when I publish everything, and have a little sample of the next chapter of everything. So anyway, Again, thank you all for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share. I am at 82 subscribers right now. Currently, I would like to reach 100. That is my current goal. When I reach 100, I will be doing a celebratory video, kind of video I've never done before, and I kind of want to keep it, I want to keep it a secret for now. Also, please go to Tabletop Jones Productions and do the same there. Like, subscribe, and share. Over there, we are currently at 32 subscribers. We'd like to make it to 50 so that we could live stream games. We would like to learn how, and that's the only way that YouTube will let us do it is if we have 50 subscribers. So again, thank you again. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that this story is interesting you. I really hope that you're enjoying it, and I hope you'll enjoy it even more once it's published. All right. So again, thank you very much. You have a great day. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you again.